Each expansion we make weapons, and this time around we were doing something super different, which is we are only making artifact weapons. The weapons became one of the most important things in the entire game.
In this expansion, the Legion is the greatest threat that Azeroth has ever seen, and players are going to need to be able to get these legendary artifacts to help take on the Legion.
Artifact weapons are essentially powerful extensions of the player's classes themselves. They grow alongside the player, they gain powers alongside the player, they enhance the player's abilities as they fight in combat.
The artifact is an item that you're going to carry with you for the entirety of the expansion. This is all about giving the player the ability to customize these super powerful weapons.
We were looking for new ways for players to customize their characters and delivering on the fantasy that players have of what wielding a powerful weapon means. And as soon as we decided on artifact weapons as a central feature for Legion, we knew this was the perfect opportunity to make that happen.
The inclusion of artifact weapons into the storyline, into the player's path, is a super exciting component of this next expansion. There's been any number of super legendary weapons, over the franchise's history. It felt natural putting these big, crazy artifacts into players' hands.
The Maw of the Damned, the Blades of the Fallen Prince, the Claws of Ursoc. Some of these weapons are some of the most well-known. Doomhammer is the mace wielded by Thrall. That's kind of the iconic part of Thrall's identity. But in the time of Legion, the hammer has forsaken him, and it's time for him to pass it on to a new owner. And that owner happens to be you, the player.
We've also invented a lot of new origin stories for weapons you've never heard of before, weapons that have existed in our fiction, but that will be entirely new to the players. When we thought about the fantasy of wielding an artifact weapon, we thought it was really important that every player feel like they have something unique and powerful of their own. So we wanted to make sure that we had a wide breadth of different weapons available to the players. So in the end, we decided 36 individual artifact weapons for every single class spec in the game.
Then on top of that, we decided to kind of do different variations for each one. Probably around 200 individual weapons.
So this time around, we really focused on embellishing our weapons audio systems.
When you wield this thing and bashing this thing, it just sounds epic and it's just heroic, and you feel that.
This is a whole different way of doing it. We had to basically create all of these systems for the designers to be able to make it work.
This expansion isn't going to actually have weapon drops like most expansions do. Towards the beginning of the expansion, you're going to get your hands on the artifact that belongs to your class, and you're going to be growing it and evolving it and changing it.
That way, really a player is going to, rather than pick up a weapon, use it for a little bit and throw it away, they're able to invest more in the one that is kind of the most epic and the most interesting.
It's the first time we've ever done any kind of weapon leveling system, but this brings it well and beyond to a whole new system. It's almost as if we're adding a whole new talent system on top of a specific weapon or item.
We settled on the idea of having artifacts level up in parallel to your own character to give players a sense of alternate progression. As you're exploring the Broken Isles, you'll also be getting artifact power that makes your weapon stronger.
So as you progress to unlocking new abilities and powers, your artifact becomes the ultimate weapon.
Artifacts being able to gain experience on their own alongside the player was really important to us because it gave us a great avenue towards extended advancement, so that kind of progression can last far longer into the end game.
There's such a back and forth with engineers and designers. We had to figure out ways of making it so that as the player is playing the game, be it doing adventure mode or doing questing or doing raiding or whatever, they're earning these artifact points.
Artifact points are what you get by spending artifact power so that you can power up your weapon and unlock the different abilities. When you have an artifact point to spend, you can choose what ability that's connected to the other traits that you've gotten to unlock and make your weapon more powerful.
Artifact traits are going to be purchased by spending the artifact power that you've earned. We laid out the trait trees in a very different way. They're not the traditional linear talent trees. Rather, they're more, constellation-like pictorials to kind of give players more of this hands-on interactive experience to customize the weapon to really suit the class that you want to play.
Each artifact also has 3 different tiers of visual progression. You have the ability to decide what look you want. For example, if we're talking about the Ashbringer, an artifact that's been wielded by Tyrion Fordring, and it's really something that was developed in the lore of the World of Warcraft itself. You have the ability to go after the lightning Ashbringer, or the fire Ashbringer, or the corrupted Ashbringer. And then even within that, you can choose from a variety of different colors to make that artifact look the way you think is the coolest.
When we started thinking about all the different visual customizations for these artifacts, it was a huge goal of ours to make sure each player had their own unique look. And we put a lot of time and effort into making sure players had the ability to choose.
Players can unlock these appearances and then choose the one that they like the best. It's a bit about self-expression. It's also about, standing out from the rest of the crowd.
We grind it all the way to have it look different. We want it to sound different as well. If you have a flaming Ashbringer or lightning, we want it to sound different as you're swinging it.
My favorite artifact is probably the Blades of the Fallen Prince that perfectly capture the fantasy of what Death Knight's Runeblade should look like.
I think my favorite visual customization that we did was this fell Doomhammer. The Frostwolf symbol has been replaced with this creepy eye, and it has this kind of green fell oozing out of it.
One of my favorite weapons out of the artifacts we've built is the Scale of the Earth Warder. It's this shield for prot warriors that actually comes from an ancient Vrykul king who had found a scale of Neltharion long ago in High Mountain. That's what I love most about the visual customization. I can really kind of choose my ideal version of what that weapon would be. I think players are going to be pleased with the greater variety of content they have to experience this time around, and actually give them a whole wide range of traits and powers that they can unlock months into their experience.